Yeah, still evaluating right now. So I understand where you're coming from on that, and still evaluating, and we'll take it one day at a time right now. Right. Well, last week it happened really on a Tuesday, and when I gave the quarterback's notice, and so I do think about our team and everything I do. This decision, Mike, other decisions, I think heavily about our team in every decision we make.
What the perception of as poorly Nathan Peterman plays poorly is to continue on with a player who had 5 interceptions through the first half. What message might that send to the team? Do you wonder?
Well, let me start off here with Nathan. One game is not going to define Nathan or Nathan's career. Young players go through it, and you saw some of it yesterday. And I put that back on myself. I own the decision, and I still, as I said yesterday, I don't regret the decision. I regret the result. And there's other hands also in the result. So it's never about one player. And I'm confident in Nathan and his mental toughness, and we move forward, we learn, we grow from it, and we get better. That's a fair question, Joe. I've evaluated, like we do all players, Nathan from the time he walked in the door, and really before that. And you watch how he handles himself intangibly, because that's a big part of it. That's a big part of the quarterback position, are the intangibles of all positions, let alone the quarterback position. You watched how he developed skill-wise, how he studied, how he prepared himself for the opponent, how he became familiar with more and more of NFL schemes, and how he performed in practice and then the preseason games, and then the short sample of the game the other week there. So that was all part of his process as we continued to evaluate Nathan. And so I remain confident in Nathan, and there were some plays yesterday I know he wants back. There was also some plays where when you look at it, you say that was pretty darn good. Hard to see on the surface, 10,000-foot view, hard to see that with the result being what it was. When you take it one play at a time and you really look at it and say, hey, we were moving the ball. And, sometimes you got to throw and got to catch. And so, but again, I own the decision. And well, sometimes you make decisions in leadership roles like this that work out, and sometimes they don't work out. And I think the biggest thing is you try and make every decision with the right agenda, with the right decision-making process in mind, and that leads you to the decision that you feel is right. And that's what I felt like in this case, and I stand by that decision. Obviously, it didn't work out. And so you go back, you learn from it. I learned from it as a head coach, and I expect us all to learn from it, and we grow and we move forward as we continue to build. Well, we're building, and building a part of it, you go through. This is part of the growth process, Bucky. You go through these pains. It burns. It burns hard, and you don't want that result that we had yesterday. And I've been on the other side of it too. And so every decision we make is with the thought of winning now, yes, but also winning in the future. And so. That's part of the vision for this organization. No, both quarterbacks have their own abilities and own skill set, and so I'm always going to look at both. How best do we equip our team to win now, and also set ourselves up to build for a strong future, and that's part of that process. As I said. Well, you just go back and look at the first drive. I think we started off with 2 runs, and then we came out and threw I believe it was a play action pass over the middle. And I believe it was Kelvin's play, in fact. And he hit Kelvin right in stride, and it was tight coverage. He threw it into a tight window, and this is a league of contested throws, contested balls, and you've got to be able to do that. And he did it. And now there was a couple other instances also, but just to name one, we got into a rhythm early on the offensive side, and so I was pleased with that drive up until the point where. We had the interception, and then things went downhill. But we came back the next drive, and the running game got on track there the next drive, and we scored the touchdown. So there were positives in there, and so there was growth. There was growth for our football team, and I know on the surface the result wasn't there, but when you look at these guys played physical in all three phases. They played hard in all three phases. And as we grow, as we develop, as we build, we're developing a standard, too, of how we do things. We're developing a culture of how we do things and what it needs to look like. And I get it. Sometimes we're not going to get the result we want. Sometimes there's a lag effect, and I've talked about that before, as you build and grow and develop things. And that's painful, you know, and that's the way it's been. The last couple of weeks, I know that. I get it. And I shoulder that responsibility. We'll see. I mean, I'm first going to, evaluate on my own and then evaluate with our coaches, and then there's a progression. And I always try and communicate with the leaders of this football team. Well, from day one, Kim and Terry have given us everything we've asked for. They've supported us to the nth degree, and in this case, no different. I made the decision, certainly communicated with Brandon on it, like we do every move, and then briefed Kim and Terry on it. So they've supported us from day one on all of our decisions, and they do a tremendous job of giving us the resources to win. Well, at this point in the season, I've hoped with them that I've built up enough credibility, trust, and then there's also a human element of it that, hey, I'm trying to do what's right, and not every decision, man, is going to work out exactly like I wanted it to. And you take responsibility. That's what you do. And you hope by doing that over time you're going to make more right decisions than you make that aren't so right. And but I'm going to learn from it at the same time and get better. And just like I expect them, they're not always going to play one play that's exactly right, but they're going to learn from it, grow, and get better. That's also part of the growth process. That's also part of building and growing and becoming better. That's a fair question. Stay decisive, stay confident, and be decisive. As a decision maker, when you waver is when you get yourself in trouble. And so you've got to stay, obviously, listening to people, listening to opinions of people I trust, communicating with people, and then also, when a decision needs to be made, be decisive and go with it. It was unfortunate, anytime you lose a player at all, let alone a player like Kelvin. Was really excited to see him in the offense, to see him work with our quarterbacks, and he was off obviously to a good start in the game. So that was unfortunate. Again, like I said after the game, Mike, it's never about one player. We're a team. We play as a team, and the next guy's got to step in and step up and do the job. He's obviously, it's my final call on that, but I communicate with those guys, and part of communication is listening, and I've got a lot of trust and faith in my staff.
Did you communicate with him before the initial decision to start Nathan?
The initial decision was mine. Well, a good receiver, but that's not all of it, and we can play with better technique and just look at, are we putting the players in position, and so just, again, a lot of parts go into that, and just formation recognition, knowing where a player like Keenan is, and making sure we're trying to get hands on him and get the matchups we want, and so they've got a talented group of receivers, and so it's never about one guy, and you watch him, and then you put two guys on him, and then somebody else pops open on the other side, Gates or whomever it might be. So they've got some weapons on that offense, and a good quarterback, and he was throwing the ball into some tight windows at times.
There was one play where you made the switch to Tyrod before halftime at all?
No.
Coach, was there any lesson you wanted Tyrod to learn by being benched, and do you think he received it?
No hidden lesson that he and I already haven't talked about. Just really, for us, it's about becoming better, becoming stronger, and there was no hidden message or hidden lesson. It's, I believe in communication with my players and being direct. Well, sometimes those come in bunches, as I said, when we were getting them, and so we try and get back to creating turnovers, emphasizing it, drilling it, working on it. If you don't emphasize it and you don't drill it, don't expect to get it, and then you got to give the offense credit too. So they take care of the ball, and they get. They're doing their job also, so there's some give and take to that. So we have to continue to emphasize it, drill it, and I'm confident we'll come up with some more in the future.